So to try to get an understanding of this what if, Naruto would exactly be a full-blooded Otsutsuki clan member and not be from the Leaf Village or not even a part of the shinobi world. Naruto's life would be traveling around with the Otsutsuki clan, gaining masses of chakra and growing stronger as a clan. They're pretty much a group of power-hungry people that like to terrorize different dimensions for their own gain. Naruto would start to do this and get used to these events at a young age, but as years go past, Naruto would start to get bored of the repeating events and would dream of going somewhere else and journey around some planet without just destroying their land. It also doesn't interest him to want to become immortal by consuming the fruit of a great tree, so he pretty much despises how the rest of the clan can see this as entertaining. So eventually Naruto makes a plan to leave the Otsutsuki traveling group and head to a place another Otsutsuki member stayed at and never returned, Earth, or more specifically the shinobi world. So we start off this what if with Naruto actually beginning his plan of leaving the Otsutsuki for now. He makes himself be alone where no one else can see him, and then he uses all of his energy to cross through dimensions and enter into the new world he has wished to go to. He had heard about 2 other clan members coming to this place and not returning, so he thinks that this place must be filled with interesting things that are making both Kaguya and Ishiki not return back to the clan. But he doesn't know that Kaguya is currently sealed while Ishiki is in hiding. As he enters this new dimension, he catches his breath from using up a lot of energy. He's currently weak at the moment, so his Otsutsuki genes kick in, making him crave for chakra to recover his energy. He wanders around the land, trying to pick up any strong enough chakra signals that would suit him for recovery. Naruto is also not afraid, as he thinks everyone in the shinobi world is weak compared to him. One thing I would also have to say is that Naruto's name isn't actually Naruto at this point of time. He's currently an unnamed Otsutsuki member, and I'm just saying Naruto in the what if since he will eventually get that name in some way later in the story. I just thought I had to get that out to you guys. So back to the what if. Now at the moment, Naruto can finally sense a large harboring chakra signal coming from a far-off village. His heart begins thumping and his panting accelerates to the max as he really craves chakra. He starts running quickly towards the far-off village, getting closer to this large chunk of chakra. As he gets closer, he activates his Byakugan clearly and searches for where it is. As Naruto scans around the village, some villagers walk around, peering over at Naruto's pale white skin. They make crude faces at Naruto, but Naruto doesn't pay attention. He just looks for the substance that will cure his hunger. Eventually he's able to find the large chakra and he runs towards it at top speed. Once he gets to the location, he barges into the house it is in, only to see 2 people that look normal to him. One has spiky blonde hair, while the other has bright red hair. The 2 people look at Naruto in shock as the blonde guy, who is actually Minato Namikaze, races for his weapons and defends his wife, who is Kushina. The large chakra Naruto senses is the 9 tails that is within Kushina at the moment, but also within Kushina is a child who isn't even born yet. Naruto sees this with his Byakugan as well, surprising him and leading him to think that the unborn child within Kushina is the one carrying the large chakra, which is not the case. Minato decides to ask who this young person is, staring down at Naruto while shocked to see the strength of a child knock down his wall. Naruto doesn't answer Minato as his hunger for the chakra takes control of him once again, showing what a true Otsutsuki is, and he speeds towards Kushina and places his hand on her to absorb all the chakra out of her. But as he does this, Minato teleports to his side and knocks Naruto out of the way. Minato continues to send Naruto away from Kushina while still trying to hold back, as Naruto has the appearance of a child. Naruto then begins to counter some of Minato's hits, showing his limited strength since his energy is low. After feeling Naruto's strength, Minato now comes to think that Naruto is some kind of creation made by some enemy that was created to look like a child to assassinate the Hokage and his wife. So believing this, Minato now chooses to not hold back because of Naruto's childlike appearance and now uses his full power to protect Kushina. Everyone in the village begins to hear noises outside, and then they all look up to see the fourth Hokage fighting a strange pale white child. Since Naruto is currently low on energy, he can't one-shot Minato like an Otsutsuki could probably do so, so he desperately rushes to Kushina to absorb the large chakra that is within her, but once again, Minato stops him. Naruto then uses the Byakugan to check Minato's chakra. since he's an annoying opponent and wonders how large his chakra is. When Naruto uses this ability, Minato freezes at the sight of it. The Hyuga Byakugan? As Minato says this, in shock, Naruto takes the chance to finally run at Kushina. As he does, he begins to absorb all of her chakra, including the Nine-Tails one. Once he finishes, Kushina starts to slowly die, his Otsutsuki power is replenished, and Naruto is now set to finally defeat Minato. Kushina, who is slowly dying from getting her chakra absorbed with the Nine-Tails as well, calls out for her unborn baby, screaming Naruto at the top of her lungs. Yes, Minato and Kushina had already named their child Naruto because of course Minato picked that out from Jiraiya. Minato hears Kushina's cries and races to his opponent as fast as he can, going for the kill this time. But as he does, Naruto forms a little grin, and as soon as Minato's arm gets in range to attack, Naruto grabs it, then twists it, eventually then throwing Minato onto the ground. He stops onto his hand, releasing Minato's kunai he was going to attack Naruto with. But Minato doesn't give up here. He teleports again and again to each kunai he had left hiding around, trying to get an opening on Naruto to lay him down for good. Naruto is confused as to why Minato is still trying to attack him, even though he knows he's outmatched and defeated. He thinks about whether it's because he had hurt the woman he had absorbed the chakra from. Naruto continues to think about why humans care that much about other people, because where he is from, everyone treats each other like strangers and not as a real clan. As Naruto thinks these things, Minato blitzes around his view, trying to catch him off guard. But Naruto easily can observe where his opponent is going thanks to his Otsutsuki abilities. So as Minato finally thinks he has found an opening and goes for the attack, Naruto swiftly uses the tool creation technique he had learned from other Otsutsuki members and forms a sword to cut off one of Minato's arms. Minato cries out in pain and falls onto the ground. I thought you could do better than that, human. But at least I got a batch of surprising chakra absorbed into me now, thanks to your companion who I think is dead. But before you die, let me ask you something. Why is it that you tried so hard just because I hurt that person? Do you really care for one another that much? Minato coughs up blood and quietly chuckles at that question. As a leader of this village, I must care for everyone equally and protect the lives of the people of the village. Well, that's what a shinobi like me and many others should do as their job, so it's engraved into us. It's a normal thing to care for other people, and I did care for Kushina a lot, but now she is dead, and also my unborn son, thanks to you. Enraged, Minato goes for one last attack, using his remaining arm to form a Rasengan in the palm of his hand. Naruto, who was still processing all of the information Minato had told him, is caught off guard by the Rasengan and is blown away by the impact of it. After that, Minato falls onto the ground, now dead, because of all of the blood loss. Naruto then gets up and is shaken by the fact he let a human hit him, but when he checks his chest, he sees a scar. This shocks him a lot more, now scarred by the last attack of a human. As the Leaf villagers then close in to see what has happened, Naruto disappears in the night and hides away to think about everything that has happened. We cut to Naruto hidden away and finishing up going through his thoughts on caring about other people like Minato had done. He forms a small grin and says that he kind of respects Minato for fighting to the bitter end, and even though he was just a human. And since now Naruto respects Minato, he thinks that he should take Minato's unborn son's name for himself, out of respect that his legacy shall continue on. Naruto himself is not fully good though. He's still a chakra-craving Otsutsuki member and would need time to fit in the shinobi world. But for now, he must journey across it and find out how to gain the skill of caring that the Otsutsuki themselves couldn't gain. Not too far away, some dark presence is watching Naruto, interested in his appearance, chakra, and heritage. This dark presence is of course Black Zetsu, who has sensed Naruto's familiar chakra from miles away. Since Black Zetsu is the manifestation of Kaguya's will, it would of course recognize the appearance of an Otsutsuki, which is Naruto. And this actually frightens it, as they never knew the Otsutsuki would come back looking for Kaguya. Now Black Zetsu must try to find a way to speed up the process of reviving Kaguya so it can combat against this new threat, because it knows that the Otsutsuki would not try to be helping Kaguya. Naruto looks around until he hears a booming voice in his head. Hey kid, there's someone watching you from the bushes. Naruto looks at the bushes and sees rustling, which was Black Zetsu, but Black Zetsu had swiftly disappeared before Naruto laid his sight on him. He got away, kid. Too late. Naruto hears the voice again and wonders where it's coming from. "Where are you? Who's talking to me? I'll kill you if you don't show yourself." Naruto then hears chuckling. "Well, you certainly don't sound like the old man, yet you look so similar to him." Naruto then feels himself moving towards darkness, only to be met with a faint light and a towering beast in front of him. An orange nine-tailed fox looks down on him, but not with the intent to kill. "Who are you, creature?" The nine-tails stares right at Naruto and now can see him clearly. "I have a name, and it's Kurama. I used to know someone who looked similar to you." Naruto is confused about what the beast is saying. "What's your name, kid?" Naruto pauses and thinks about this, and then comes to the conclusion on what his name truly is. "My name is Naruto Otsutsuki." So last time, we left off with Naruto killing both Minato and Kushina, but he left off with new knowledge, hearing Minato talk about the way of the shinobi, and Naruto actually respected him in some way, respected him enough to take up the name of Minato's unborn son himself, the name Naruto. Naruto also first started to talk to Kurama, who he had found is the voice in his head. Now at the moment, Naruto is currently talking to the tailed beast that is now inside of him, Kurama the nine-tailed fox. In the conversation, Naruto comes to realize that Kurama was the large amount of chakra that came from the person who he absorbed, which was Kushina. Kurama didn't die from the absorption, so he wound up inside of Naruto, but he isn't sealed inside of him though. He's able to move freely around without any cages, but he doesn't try to dare to take over Naruto because of the amount of power Naruto holds is way too much for him to take over. They continue to talk to each other with Naruto actually listening to what the tailed beast has to say, which was about the Sage of Six Paths, someone who looks similar to Naruto because of the Otsutsuki blood of course. Naruto is confused to why an Otsutsuki was on Earth and not being Kaguya or Ishiki, but then he comes to realize that Kaguya or Ishiki must have been a parent to this Sage of Six Paths, because no one in the Otsutsuki world has ever talked about the Sage, and the only way for this Sage of Six Paths to be on Earth would be that they must have had a connection to Kaguya or Ishiki, who came to Earth as well. Kurama then says that the Sage is long gone and that he himself has been wandering the lands until a leader of a village a long time ago had sealed him. Kurama states his hatred for humans and is glad that Naruto isn't one, so he doesn't have any hate for him. Naruto chuckles and says that Kurama must have been too weak that he got sealed, and he goes on to say that he's confused on why someone like him has a lot of chakra but can't use it correctly. Kurama grits his teeth but can't come to hate Naruto because of his resemblance to his creator. Naruto grins and then decides to ask if Kurama knows anything about this Sage of Six Paths, but all Kurama says is that the Sage had created him and 8 more tailed beasts like himself and cared for them as well. Naruto is interested in the Sage and wants to know more about him, so he thinks that the rest of the tailed beasts could have an idea on who he actually is, so he decides to ask Kurama something again, which would be about where all the other tailed beasts are. Kurama answers that he doesn't know, but they could be in different villages, sealed inside Jinchurikis like he was before. Now that Naruto knows this, he has a plan set for his time on Earth. He decides to learn more about this shinobi code Minato had talked about, while going to retrieve the different Biju so he can learn more about the Sage of Six Paths, which could lead him to find out about where either Kaguya or Ishiki are. Naruto smiles, then using his clan's abilities, he takes flight into the sky and flows through the air, ready to complete his plan. We cut to Naruto going through the Leaf Village, first looking around the place, looking for people that seemed like the last person he thought, Minato, so he can ask them about shinobis and stuff like that. Kurama chuckles inside of him, saying that no one in the village likes anyone different to them, and knowing Naruto has a whole different appearance than everybody else, Kurama doubts anyone could talk to him. So Kurama keeps chuckling at the fact. "Stop the laughter, you beast. I'll get someone to tell me about it, and if they don't, I might as well threaten them, as I'm a higher being than everyone here anyway." Kurama continues to chuckle whilst Naruto ignores him and continues his way in the Leaf Village. Naruto also is pretty thankful that no one saw him fully on the night of Minato and Kushina's deaths, as that would be a problem. As Naruto continues on, he sees a man wearing a robe. He checks his chakra and senses that it's fairly big, but of course nowhere near his own size. Naruto begins to walk over to him and decides to ask what a shinobi is, and why they're even necessary in the world. The person wearing the robe, who is Hiruzen, looks down at Naruto with a saddened look in his eyes, which is from hearing the death of Minato and Kushina. Hiruzen then places his hand on Naruto's shoulder, ignoring Naruto's unique appearance, and then answers him. A shinobi is someone who is loyal to something as big as a village. They're so loyal to it that they would die to protect it. They're all honorable people who are respected everywhere for their enduring missions and hardships. That is what a shinobi is, young one. Naruto looks in confusion and thinks it through. He wonders why a person could be so loyal to die because of it. He then asks how he could become and learn how to be a shinobi. Naruto says this without hesitation, shocking even himself to want to become something humans made. But he still wants to learn about Earth, and even if he has to do this kind of stuff, he'll do it to learn new things, as in the Otsutsuki world, there was nothing as interesting as this. Hiruzen smiles and says that there is an academy for people to become shinobi. He also says that he will take him there if he would like, as he is hoping to make more people into shinobi, as the village is still in shock because of the Hokage's death. Naruto nods his head, making Kurama chuckle at Naruto's decision. The next day, Naruto is taken to the academy and everyone looks at him with disgusted faces, since they all see his pale white skin, lavender hair, and horn-like things coming from his head. Naruto also has a serious expression on his face at the moment, and it grows more when everyone starts to look at him with those faces. If any of you humans dare to look at me like that, I'll slaughter you all. The room grows quiet and the academy students have shocked looks on their faces. Hiruzen also has a shocked expression on his face, but then taps Naruto on the shoulder. Well, you can introduce yourself now, I guess. Naruto nods his head. My name is Naruto Otsutsuki, and I have come here to learn about whatever a shinobi is, so I can gain more knowledge on it. I'll also be here only for a while, as I have other business to attend to later as the years go by. The academy students are still shocked, as they have just heard the way Naruto speaks at his age. Hiruzen then tells Naruto to sit down in a chair right next to a kid with long black hair. Hiruzen also tells the kid to introduce himself to Naruto so they can be friends at the academy and teach him a few things, since Hiruzen knows that this particular kid is a known prodigy. The kid nods his head and turns to Naruto. I'm Itachi Uchiha, nice to meet you. Itachi throws his hand out to Naruto, waiting for him to shake it. Naruto thinks about it for a while, and inside of him, Kurama shouts at him not to shake his hand, as Kurama had remembered the Uchiha name, remembering what Madara had done to him a long time ago. He thinks all Uchiha are no different. Naruto grits his teeth. Shut it, Kyuubi, let me think for myself of whether I should greet this human by shaking hands. After thinking for like a few seconds, Naruto just shakes Itachi's hand. Nice to meet you, Itachi Uchiha. So in his time at the academy, Naruto is taught various things and lessons whilst causing some trouble as well, as he doesn't fully respect all humans, and the only human he does respect was Minato. He also tries to hold back on everyone else because of his large strength gap, but he is able to show off his unique skill, getting everyone to admire him despite his different appearance and origin. He also hadn't told anyone about the Otsutsuki clan, but just said many things like how he left his clan from another village, as he doesn't want to give knowledge about his clan to humans. Naruto is given information on the history of the Leaf Village, with the teachers explaining things about the Hokages, the Will of Fire, and about the shinobi system. He also works with Itachi over the years despite his ill feeling of humans. He just admires Itachi's skill and knows that he stands out like him the same way he himself stands out to other people. Naruto also doesn't forget about his other objective on Earth, which is finding the rest of the Biju to find out information on the Sage of Six Paths, so he can get a location on where either Kaguya or Ishiki are. As years go by, Naruto is now gaining with Itachi on the same team with him. Let's just say the last person on their team is just some fodder character and not so important. The team gets sent on a mission, with it being to guard some important people of the village and escort them safely. Naruto doesn't really like the fact of guarding people who are weaker than him. It angers him a bit, but he tries to hold back his anger, as he doesn't want to get kicked out from the shinobi system. As they all continue along the path, a masked man stands in the way of them, with Zetsu above him hiding away to not get seen. Zetsu had also told the masked man not to attack the guy with the pale white skin, as he would kill him easily. The masked man's only objective is to see Itachi though, and prepare for him to be his puppet. Naruto senses that this person might be in the team's way, so for the first time in a long time, he uses the Byakugan, revealing it to everyone around him. Naruto checks the marksman's chakra and chuckles as he thinks to himself, why a human so weak compared to him. Everyone looks at Naruto in shock, since they had never seen him with a Byakugan. Naruto just has a normal expression though, confused on why everyone is looking at him like that. Itachi then decides to ask him if he is from the Hyuga clan, with Naruto replying that he isn't. The marksman waits for no conversation though and tells the team that he would be killing the people that they are guarding. Naruto and Itachi's teammate then rushes at the marksman with no plan but wanting to stop him from getting in the team's way. The man then swiftly kills him easily, making Itachi go into shock, then back out as he awakens his Sharingan for the first time, as he remembers the time he had been with that teammate. Naruto on the other hand is starting to feel something weird to him. It's something that he had never gotten before. He had never thought he would feel this way. He had never thought that he would feel sad for someone like a human. Last time we left off with Naruto joining a team with Itachi and one other shinobi, who were on a mission to escort a few important people of the Leaf. Itachi, Naruto's teammate, was eventually killed by the masked man who is Obito, and Itachi actually unlocks his Sharingan from feeling the need of power to take down this stranger. Naruto also felt something new that he had never felt before he came to Earth. He felt a bit of sadness that his teammate had just died, but the sadness doesn't stay for long and Naruto just brushes it off, because why would he ever have sympathy for a human who rushed into their death? The masked man is satisfied that he was able to make Itachi get his Sharingan and then disappears without touching the rest of the group. Naruto tells Itachi that they should continue this mission for now, with Itachi going in to grab onto Naruto with a shocked look in his eyes. Itachi is looking completely different than his calm, reserved look, and he shows off this new fiery rage at Naruto. "You don't care, don't you? You don't care that our friend had just gotten killed." Naruto chuckles a bit. "Why would I care if someone rushed into their death? It was their fault. They should have waited just like the two of us, who are actually alive." Itachi kind of understands this and throws Naruto from him. Naruto then grins at him. "So then, let's continue our mission." The rest of the mission is surrounded in silence without anyone saying a word. Itachi is also carrying the body of his dead teammate the rest of the way because he just couldn't leave him on the ground. Naruto at the moment is holding back his unwanted emotions because it would pretty much wreck his self-created pride of having sympathy for a human. We cut to after everything is finished with Itachi giving the report to the Hokage, and some time passes as well with Itachi and Naruto both going up in ranks, and Itachi is then able to become an Anbu whilst Naruto becomes a Jonin. Over the past years, Naruto has been able to learn everything he had wanted to know, able to gain knowledge of the system their planet has gotten used to. Now since he's done all of this, he thinks that this might be the time to search for the tailed beast, as he has no reason to stay in the village any longer. But just before he goes off from Konoha, he remembers how tailed beasts have a lot of chakra and their users could probably pull something off to stop Naruto from absorbing them, so now he would need a lot of chakra in store for him to completely overpower the other Jinchurikis. He remembers how a specific group in the village have a lot of skilled people with strong chakra levels as well, the Uchiha clan. Naruto then grins at this thought, with Kurama liking the idea as well, as he hates the Uchiha. At the moment, Itachi is assigned a very tragic mission for him to do. This was of course requested by Danzo, with Hiruzen able to do nothing with the decision as well, because he knows what the village could gain if Itachi does this mission right. Itachi had leaked that the Uchiha have been planning a rebellion because of how they wanted more power, as they don't have as much as the other clans thanks to Tobirama's decisions in the past. The Uchiha think it's their time now and take the chance to gain overall power and rebel against the higher ups. Shisui has already killed himself and has given his Sharingan to Itachi, so now Itachi is the only person who could fight back against the rebellion, meaning that he would have to commit to the Uchiha massacre plan. Danzo is pleased to have Itachi understand the circumstances and allows Itachi to keep his brother safe, which is the same decision he had in the original. We cut days after to the night when Itachi commits to a secret mission. Naruto currently is off to absorb the Uchihas at the same time, as he craves for their chakra so he could commit to his own future plans. Naruto starts off early, able to get to the clan's area quicker than Itachi. Some of the Uchiha clan members look up, pointing to what the figure in the sky is. They get frightened with Naruto looking down on them with his menacing eyes of bloodlust. So this is Itachi's clan. Too bad he won't see them anymore. Well, I can't feel bad for humans anyway. Naruto then swiftly rushes down on a few Uchiha, absorbing all of their chakra away. Naruto continues to rush everywhere in the place, showing his true Otsutsuki nature and showing no true humanity that he had learned over the course of the years. He eventually is able to absorb about everyone, and the last couple of people who are fighting him are Fugaku and a few other stronger Uchiha. Itachi's family are hiding away, but Sasuke wants to fight the intruder who is killing his clan. Itachi then is able to get to the place to murder all of the Uchiha, but then he looks around to see everyone on the ground dead. Obito, who was with him like in the original, is surprised by this as well. Who did this, Itachi? Or did you poison them before we got here? Itachi shakes his head while replying that he didn't do anything. The two of them then jump down from the tree they were standing on and observe the area, trying to find the person who killed the Uchiha before they did. Itachi keeps looking and then is able to find the dead body of his father looking wrinkled up, meaning that he had got absorbed in some way. Itachi starts to breathe deeply and grips onto his weapon tightly. Obito then points in a certain direction, signaling Itachi to follow him. Once they both get there, they see Naruto grabbing onto Itachi's mother and absorbing all of her chakra away, with Sasuke in fear right beside her. After absorbing her, Naruto moves on to Sasuke, with Itachi then blitzing over to him and stopping him from doing so. Itachi's eyes widen in shock as he gets a better view of who had done this. "Is that you, Naruto?" Naruto grins and replies that it is, and he also tells him that his clan really gave him a good load of chakra. Itachi jumps backwards whilst holding onto his brother. "I thought you wouldn't do any of this stuff anymore. Why did you do this?" Naruto doesn't say anything and he looks at the other person who was beside Itachi. "I remember you. You're that masked guy from years ago who killed one of my allies. I think I'll need to kill you for that." Naruto then swiftly rushes at Obito and goes for a hit, but it goes right through him. Naruto is confused as to why his hand went right through the marksman, while Itachi goes for an attack at Naruto. Naruto catches Itachi's blade with his own hand and breaks it. He then dashes to him and grabs him by the throat. "You were far below me, Itachi, but I also thought that you were kind of my equal back in the academy. Now I actually realize that there was no one here that is equal to me, and I'm free to do whatever I want, even killing you. Bye, old teammate, and thanks for your chakra." Itachi at the moment can't do anything as Naruto's strength is far beyond him. "So you let your clan's nature consume you. Isn't that right, Naruto? Your clan that you explained to me long ago and told no one else. I thought you could change, but sadly, you couldn't." Obito then runs at Naruto, trying to stop him from killing his future puppet that he will use, but Naruto is able to set him in a temporary paralysis, the same thing Kaguya was able to do in the original. Then with slight hesitation, he drains Itachi of his chakra, betraying his ex-teammate and leaving no chakra left. He then turns to Sasuke, who was on the ground. He uses his Byakugan and scans him, realizing that Sasuke doesn't have that much good chakra for him, and since Naruto is now full of chakra, as he had wiped out everyone else in the Uchiha clan, he leaves Sasuke alive. Obito is able to get away using his Kamui, leaving Sasuke to be the only one after the event that had just occurred. We cut to all after this with Sasuke reporting everything he had seen and happened. He had explained that a person with pale white skin and lavender hair had wiped out the Uchiha clan, including his brother Itachi. Hiruzen is able to hear the news and find out about what had just gone down in the night before. He is able to get information on the Uchiha clan's massacre, Itachi's death, Sasuke being the only survivor, and the appearance of who had done it. Hiruzen's head is filled with stress at the moment, knowing that the person that's appearance is what Sasuke had stated is Naruto's one. And Naruto is nowhere to be seen in the village at the moment, and Hiruzen remembers the time he had brought Naruto to the academy years ago and told him about what a shinobi is, so he's confused on why Naruto could do something like this. He then calls for multiple shinobi to go out and look for Naruto and bring him back, as he needs to find out why Naruto had done this. The shinobi go out of the village and search the surrounding places that would be most likely for a criminal to hide in. As they do this, Naruto is on his way to the next village so he can find Jinchuriki to hunt down, for his plan to be real. He needs to absorb all Bichu since he wants to find out more things about the Sage of Six Paths, which could lead him to either Kaguya or Ishiki's location, which he can tell his clan about it. We cut to Naruto flying across the lands with Kurama stating everything Naruto needs to know about the directions of the shinobi world, as Kurama knows the land because long ago he was free to roam everywhere until he was captured by the Leaf Village. Naruto continues on while he decides to think about everything he had been doing. He remembers back a long time ago after the events of the mission he had gone through with Itachi. We then cut to the past, which is years ago, before Naruto had killed the Uchiha clan, and this is only after Naruto and Itachi's mission when they met the marksman and their teammate had gotten killed. They were able to bring the body back with them, able to have a small funeral for their ex-teammate. Itachi looks down in grief while Naruto shows no true emotion except displaying cold eyes. Itachi turns to Naruto. Why? Why is it that you have no emotions? Why is it that you can't feel anything of a close one's death? Who are you really? You have the Byakugan, yet you're not from the Hyuga clan. Who actually are you, Naruto? Naruto is frozen in shock as he thinks that he had never had someone as close to a friend, so he doesn't know how to show the right emotion for a friend's death. He doesn't understand any of the humans' ways of life, and he's now trying to learn about them. Naruto continues to think, and then he comes to a conclusion to tell Itachi everything about him. He turns to Itachi and looks him straight into the eyes. Don't tell anyone what I'm about to tell you, or I'll kill you. I'm actually not from this place you call the shinobi world. I come from a different dimension, or you could say different dimensions, as my clan doesn't stay in one place. I'm from an alien clan called the Otsutsuki, and they're gods compared to you guys. What I'm about to tell you next is my story of why I wanted to come to Earth. Last time we left off with Naruto gaining every chakra he could find from absorbing all of the Uchiha clan. He even had killed Itachi due to his rising Otsutsuki urge. He left Sasuke alone though, as he had already finished absorbing enough. Where we cut off was in the past, before any of Naruto's present actions. We left off with Naruto telling Itachi his past story and how he came to be on Earth, and how he is today. We start off this what if with Naruto explaining the Otsutsuki clan. Naruto had no idea who his parents were, and the children were just built for destruction. Naruto was used to going into different dimensions and consuming the chakra of different people from each dimension. Then the leader of the traveling group would eat the chakra fruit from the divine tree they had grown there. They would gain extraordinary power like how Kaguya had eaten it and became really powerful. The clan would repeat this each time, and Naruto at a young age would actually get bored from it most of the time. Until one day he had decided that he should end this for now. Every time he had gone to each dimension, he saw the death of others, and he got a disgusting feel and couldn't bear to see it anymore. He decided to go to the traveling group leader and said that the Otsutsuki already have so much power, so why do they have to keep ruining other people's lives from different dimensions for more power? The leader would erupt in laughter and stare right into Naruto's eyes. They would say that he shouldn't feel anything from seeing the death of lowly beings, and that they should feel proud of being superior to everyone. Naruto would disagree, saying the Otsutsuki are the actual weak ones, as they always have to look for power so they can never stay their original ways. The leader would become frustrated when he had heard Naruto say all of this, but he doesn't decide to kill him. He prepares to do something more than that. The leader grins while looking down on Naruto and activates his Rinnegan he had gotten from eating one of the chakra fruits from the divine tree. He then decides to use his own unique ability that no one else has. He decides to torture Naruto's mind so he can no longer feel sympathy for another being. This ability is the leader's own ability that he had gotten from the Rinnegan. It's kind of like Itachi Tsukiyomi, but it's a lot more different than that, as it's used to get rid of a person's feel or emotion. It would go for a long time, but Naruto is eventually released from it, no longer able to think of wanting to end the Otsutsuki clan's want of chakra. Naruto then continues with the leader and the other clan members to absorb another dimension. A while after that, Naruto would get even more bored, and the events that happened at the start of this what if from part 1 goes the same way. We cut back to the present day with Naruto gliding through the air. He had just remembered this memory and is now wondering if there even is a way for him to get his true emotions back. He still wouldn't feel the right way though, as he had killed his friend and his clan, but he just wants to experience it once again. But now at the moment, his objective is to hunt down the rest of the Biju so he can get information on the Sage of Six Paths. Kurama decided to work with Naruto without any bad intentions, with Naruto not really minding as much. As the two of them continue, Kurama decides to ask about what Naruto is going to do after he finds out about the Sage of Six Paths, and also after he finds the other two people that he had talked about. Naruto hadn't really thought about that, as he was just generally interested in who that Otsutsuki is and why he was on Earth. Naruto answers Kurama, saying that he'll think about that after he completes his current objective. Kurama chuckles and also brings Naruto another question, which is about how many abilities does he actually have, as he knows that no one on Earth is worthy to see all of Naruto's abilities. Naruto talks about how he is able to travel through dimensions, have enhanced speed and strength, and also have his own unique ability that you guys who are watching can give Naruto. Put down in the comments which kind of unique ability Naruto can have, because Kaguya had her own one, which was the all-killing Ash Bones, so now you guys can give Naruto his own one in the comments below. Now back to the what if. As Naruto continues, he comes across some missing ninja trying to rob a few people who come from a village other than Konoha. Kurama notices that detail as well. Naruto also realizes that the people are from the village hidden in the sand, remembering what he was taught in the academy. Knowing there could be a Biju in the hidden sand, Naruto decides to help the people out against the missing nin shinobi so they could show him the way to their village. He gets ready and then dashes down on his new opponents. The people who are getting attacked see a quick white blur dashing around and messing with the attackers. Naruto quickly demolishes the missing nin shinobi, being able to outspeed them by a mile, and uses unique strength to finish them off, sending them all to a near-death state. Naruto doesn't really want to scare the people off by killing his opponents, so he plays it smart and just puts them in that state. The people from the hidden sand thank Naruto and tell him that they would do anything to repay him. Naruto grins at this and decides to ask them if they could show him the way to the village hidden in the sand. The people nod their heads and are surprised at how simple the repayment is. So now Naruto goes with them along the path to his next target, the Jinchuriki of the hidden sand village. We cut to once Naruto arrives in the village and he observes his surroundings, checking if he could find anything bizarre or out of place. He walks around the village with most people staring at him, as his appearance differs from everyone else's. Naruto's serious expression shakes the stares off though, making him more pleased. After a while, Kurama remembers that this place is the home of the Shukaku and is surprised he had forgotten for a while. He tells Naruto that the Biju in this village wouldn't be much help. Kurama says this because he doesn't really like the one-tailed beast at all. Naruto shrugs and says it doesn't matter, as he could still get some interesting information either way. He decides to go over to some people who look like they know about who the village's Jinchuriki is and where they are. He asks them the question, with them saying that everybody should know that monster of a child. Naruto has a confused look and wonders if the Jinchuriki is a monster. The person continues to ramble on about how the one named Gaara should have been killed a long time ago. Naruto brings up the question again in a more serious tone. Where is the Jinchuriki? I'm not asking how the person is like. The person nods his head and tells him that Gaara lives at the Kazekage's home. Naruto nods his head and heads towards a place that looks good enough to be the home of a Kage. Naruto already knows about how important Kages are from learning about them. Eventually, he's able to find a good-looking place, and on top of it sits a young boy with reddish-brownish hair and is carrying a gourd. Naruto blitzes to the person and looks right down on him. Are you the one named Gaara? The person looks up and is kind of shocked by Naruto's speed. Yeah, I am. Why are you asking? Naruto grins and says that he needs his Biju. Sand then comes from the gourd and quickly launches Naruto into the ground below. Naruto is surprised as he didn't see that coming. Gaara stares at him and decides to ask who he is. Naruto replies saying that he's a person who needs information, and that is all. Gaara goes to attack again, but inside of him, Shukaku shouts that he shouldn't attack this person. Gaara is confused, but Shukaku explains that the person in front of him is a very powerful being, and that he shouldn't risk being met with death. Shukaku obviously doesn't want to be killed as well. Even with Gaara standing still, Naruto can feel the killing aura that Gaara emits from himself. Naruto wonders how that came to be and asks Gaara about it. Shukaku tells Gaara to answer or he'll die. Reluctant, Gaara still answers and explains to Naruto about the life he had in the village. He talks about his childhood and how most people tried to kill him, even his own father. Naruto is interested in Gaara now, and he kind of feels something once again. He could kind of feel for Gaara. Naruto remembers being isolated from his own clan members, with everyone not even caring about him, and not even making eye contact to him in any way. So Naruto can kind of relate to him. So he thinks for some time and comes to a conclusion, thinking that Gaara could be useful in some way. Naruto decides to not kill Gaara and tells him that, but he also decides to ask Gaara if he would come with him to look for other Jinchuriki. Gaara doesn't really care as long as it's away from the hidden sand. Naruto smirks and tells him to go now. Kurama sighs as he knows that Shukaku is there within Gaara, and now they have to go together. We cut to once the two of them are out of the village, with people inside of the hidden sand wondering where that monster is. The Kazekage is getting frustrated with his so-called weapon missing from the village, so he sends out a horde of shinobi to go look for Gaara around the surrounding outside of the village. The sand shinobi go looking and eventually are able to find Gaara and one other person beside him. Both Naruto and Gaara sense them and know that they're going to get in their way, so they both attack at once, going to eliminate their pursuers. Gaara uses his sand to crush them, and Naruto uses his insane strength to punch holes into them, easily killing them off. The fight doesn't go for too long, and once it's finished, they both hide the bodies so no one from the hidden sand can track them down. Once they finish, Naruto and Gaara continue their path onto the next village that holds the next Jinchuriki Naruto is looking for. So last time we left off with Naruto able to recruit Gaara, as his life felt kind of similar to his. This also would result with Gaara being Naruto's first actual human ally in a very long time. He hasn't ever had one since his shinobi days. Gaara had accepted Naruto as he doesn't care about the sand village and would actually feel much better outside of it. Now at the moment, Naruto still has the same objective in mind, recruiting all of the Jinchurikis and making their bijus tell him about the Sage of Six Paths that would eventually lead him to Kaguya or Ishiki, who he is actually trying to look for. So as the two of them continue, Naruto thinks of actually wanting to test how strong Gaara is to an Otsutsuki like himself. He wants to see how someone who has a biju inside of them matches up to someone who is above that. Naruto then decides to ask Gaara if he would like to spar him at his full capabilities, and Gaara just turns around to him and thinks about that question for a second. Shukaku is obviously scared to endanger himself if Gaara does accept going up against a higher being like Naruto, but Gaara doesn't really care about him. He eventually accepts, and they both find a space that is wide enough for them to fight. The place they find has no trees, rocks or any structures of any kind that would get in their way. Naruto tells Gaara that even though it's a spar, he doesn't have to hold back against him. Gaara grins as he already knows this. He was already going to go all out from the start, and as Gaara continues to have that grin on his face, he sends masses of sand towards Naruto with a quick attack, starting off the sparring match. Naruto honestly is surprised by this and jumps backwards from the sand's range, but the sand continues to hurl towards him and Gaara continues to have that deadly frozen grin on his face. Naruto then stops jumping backwards and easily blitzes to Gaara's side and sends a swift kick into his face. Gaara gets thrown by the force of the kick, and without any time to react, he fatally crashes into the ground. Gaara gets up from the ground quickly and is surprised his sand didn't defend him from the kick. He then thinks that it must be because Naruto is too fast for him to react, and now he must adapt to that speed and counter it with his sand. Naruto starts to blitz everywhere within Gaara's eye view, the left, right, back, and center, everywhere, but Gaara continues to focus on Naruto's movements, hoping to counter the speed of someone from the unknown clan that Naruto is in. As Naruto starts to blitz closer to Gaara, Gaara then takes out his sand and hurls it at Naruto. The sand then follows Naruto, trying to match up to the speed Naruto is currently going at. Eventually, Naruto realizes what Gaara is trying to do and stops running around to finally go for another hit on Gaara. This time he goes for a punch instead of a kick, and as he does, Gaara grins and uses the speed he has acquired by focusing on Naruto's swift skills and blocks Naruto's incoming attack. Naruto is surprised by this as Gaara sends him backwards while still holding onto him with his sand. Gaara then begins to swing Naruto around and then throws him into the ground. Naruto chuckles for a bit, but he then has had enough. With this, he does some shadow clones that he had learned from his years as a shinobi and sends them all hurling at Gaara. The clones all have a bit of Naruto's chakra but not his full strength. Even so, the clones are still able to take down Gaara with ease, ending the sparring match. A bloodied up Gaara awakens after a while, still in shock of what had happened before. Naruto stands beside him and then starts to walk as he has realized Gaara has finally woken up. Let's go find the rest of the tailed beasts. I still have my objective in mind of talking to all of them. Gaara then nods his head and gets up and scurries behind Naruto. The two of them then continue their journey to find the rest of the Jinchurikis, with the next village being the village hidden in the clouds. After a few days, the two allies are able to finally make it to the cloud village where two Jinchurikis are. The two tailed beasts that are in the Jinchurikis are the two tails and the 8 tails. Naruto and Gaara eventually find out about this information and they both agree to split up to find the two Jinchurikis. Gaara goes to find the 2 tails while Naruto goes to find the 8 tails. As Naruto goes through the village, he notices people staring at him around him, but he doesn't care as he knows even having an appearance like this, he's still a higher being than everyone else around him. He tries to look for some important looking person in the village so he could ask them a question about where the cloud's 8-tailed beast Jinchuriki is. Eventually he finds a shinobi and decides to quickly ask them where the 8 tails is. The shinobi laughs at Naruto and says that he would never give out an important detail like that, especially when someone looks like that. He says this while pointing and laughing at Naruto. Naruto gets slightly agitated by this and grabs the shinobi by the throat whilst pulling him up. He decides to ask the shinobi the same question again, but in a more threatening tone. Not wanting to die like this, the shinobi quickly coughs up the secret location of where the Jinchuriki is. Naruto chuckles and then says that humans are so weak, straight to the shinobi's face. The shinobi of course didn't know what that meant, but as he then goes to run to some more shinobi to tell them about Naruto, Naruto glares straight at him, stopping him in his tracks. He uses the Otsutsuki power of paralysis and then swiftly kills the cloud shinobi, then hides his body away. Nobody must know of this. Naruto says this as he walks towards the secret location. At the secret location, Killer Bee is currently training himself with the 8 tails. As he does, he practices his rapping as well, which echoes throughout the cave. As Naruto gets closer to the location, he can hear strange noises coming from the place. His head starts to bop to the sound as he gets closer. He begins to shake to the rap, but as he gets closer, the 8 tails within Killer Bee senses someone of great chakra coming closer. Bee of course swiftly goes out to see a pale white person with weird clothes, finishing off bopping to the rap he was just doing. As Killer Bee appears right out of the cave, Naruto turns straight towards him, seeing the next Jinchuriki. He then blitzes to his side and sits down. Bee is pretty much surprised by this and decides to quickly ask who he is. Naruto replies saying that he's someone who is looking for Jinchurikis so that he can have a conversation with all of them on a very important topic. Killer Bee is confused and asks if he needs him. Naruto nods his head with Bee questioning him again with when he would get back if he does go with him. Naruto replies saying after he is able to get all of the Jinchurikis, he would be able to return. Killer Bee is confused by all of this, but it would be an adventure if he is able to go out of the village, as his brother had always kept him caged up into this location without letting him get anywhere outside of the cloud village. Killer Bee then agrees to come as he doesn't want to be kept in the village for a while. Now all that's left for him is having a way to get out of the village undetected. But without any question, Naruto grabs onto Killer Bee and blitzes himself and Bee out of the cloud village undetected. With the both of them out of the village, they both meet up with Gaara and the second Jinchuriki of the cloud village. Naruto grins as he is finally getting closer to the end of his objective. And after a while, all of them begin their next journey to the future villages. After a long time skip, Naruto is able to get all of the Jinchurikis under his command. Also, he was able to convince them all to stay with him for a while. Now for him, it was time for his plan to go into its second stages of work. It was time for him to discuss who had made the Biju and discussing if it was an Otsutsuki who had done it, so he would be the one to find them.